Hi, my name's Ethan Lawrence.
This is Jesse Leach from Killswitch Engage.
Hi, I'm Scotty Wartooth.
Hi, my name's Sean Smith.
Hi, my name is Desha Kiva.
This is Ryan McCombs from the band Soil.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is the Raging Cajun Lash LaRue.
My name is William Rockwell. I am leather costume maker and mask designer. This is the Chronicles of Podcast with Tom and Jane.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 138th edition of the Chronicles of Podcast. And these right here are the Chronicles of Rockwell Masks. It is I, Jamie, and joining me as always this week, as always, this guy right here.
What's going on, guys? It's Tom, and you should never touch an optician's penis.
Ladies and gentlemen, this week we bring you an incredibly talented guest, a man unlike any guest we've had before. We see wrestlers, cosplayers, theatre performers, and wonder where do they get those beautiful masks and costumes from? Well, today we answer that question. Working with companies such as MLW, TNA, AEW, WWE, you name it. This week we bring you the man behind it all, Mr. William Rockwell, as we bring you the Chronicles of Rockwell Masks.
Beautiful. Could not say any better.
Good to be on. Thanks so much. That was quite an intro.
You're welcome, sir. I like to big people up before we bombard you with questions. Make you feel good about yourself.
You've done that for sure.
First things first, Will, how's your personal Thursday treating you?
So far, so good. Went to the dentist this morning. Other than that, it's been a good day.
Oh, but how was that? Was that just the checkup thing?
Yeah, well, no, they had to do a small bit of work, but you know what? Everybody in that office was in such a pleasant mood that it was pretty great, honestly, to be honest. So.
Oh, no, good. I'm glad. There's nothing but I had to go for like emergency surgery last year. And I'm amazed that the guy extracting my wisdom tooth to put his foot on my chest. It was
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But we're not here to talk about teeth.
Well, actually, no. I was gonna. No, I'm just kidding.
So here's a set I brought to show you guys. So basically.
So what we like to do at the start of this is take us right back to the start, the days of young Master Rockwell. What did you want to be when you were growing up? Has it always been art for yourself, or was it something completely different, like, I don't know, race car driver?
Well, I was very much into racing as a kid, but that was not realistic. What art has always been there. That's been a theme that has carried through from as young as I can remember all the way through. But everybody says art is not realistic, and it's not really ultimately, but who cares? So it's still a dream, but it was also like, okay, how can I apply that to the real world? And so like architecture came into it. And then when I was leaving high school, it was like more project management type stuff. And I did end up doing that for quite a while before making this work. But art has been the dream that I've always had from the start.
That's interesting, because obviously architecture is buildings. That's quite a differentiation from what you're doing now.
Right. Well, it was so my family is on my dad's side is all construction. As it gets further, it's like miners, like very blue collar workers. So it's like that would be a fit. Like I can draw it, or at the time it was like I can draw, so maybe I could do that and actually make money doing something creative. So that was the take on it. It wasn't like, oh, I really want to be an architect or something. It was like, that's something I could do.
So that building looks terrible. Do you know what? I could do a better job of building that. So blueprints, here we go.
Start down.
But on your website, you do describe yourself as a lifelong artist. So what age was it you really fell in love with art that made you want to follow this route?
Well, according to my mom, as I've been an artist as long as my hands could literally hold on to a pencil. Obviously, I don't remember that far back, but yeah. I don't remember a time in my life where I wasn't. School was not a pleasant experience for me, but it was an area where I could just like escape into art, and just like draw or I like to sculpt a lot. I guess I'm more of a sculptor than a drawer or a 2D artist, but 2D art is cheaper. So like you need a piece of paper and like a mechanical pencil and you can draw something. But so that was kind of, I did a lot of drawing or any kind of art I could from, I don't remember a time where I wasn't, except as an adult where there were periods of time where I just like stopped doing anything creative and then wondered why I wasn't in a good mood ever. But aside from that, no, there's no like moment where, you know, I was, and another thing too is just like, you know, it evolves as it goes and it keeps it fun because there's so many things you can do artistically. There's just so many mediums and so many things I still haven't even played with. So yeah, so no beginning, no genesis, I guess birth.
Is anyone like ever influenced you in that sort of retrospect? Like you've seen someone and gone, oh my God, that's so cool. Like I'd love to be able to do something like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I guess my initial, you know, footing is my mom. She's a very skilled artist. She's a painter and yeah, so she does, these days she does more like mixed media type stuff. She's done all kinds of stuff over the years, but she definitely helped foster my artistic flame and keep that nurtured through my childhood. So definitely her. As far as like idols or something like that going forward, the first one that always comes into my mind is Tim Burton. I just absolutely have always loved that theme, that style, that kind of dark element to it. And I love stop motion animation in general. So that's always, I did that for a little while too, or like freelance that for a bit to try it. It's a lot of fun to do that, but very time consuming. But yeah, so Tim Burton is a big one. And then oftentimes it's like specific pieces of art that just speak to me, but I can't like pull something up right now. You know, like Dolly is very interesting, his work. And but yeah, Tim Burton is definitely the top guy for me.
There. And what an inspiration, like I say, because his work is phenomenal and unique. So it makes absolute sense. But how did you go from architecture to mask and costume making? How does that happen?
Also, I never even pursued architecture. That was kind of a early high school. Like I could probably do that, but I don't remember why, but it just never like happened. And then I ended up actually going into project management, you know, right after high school. I didn't go to college. I went right to work. And so, you know, kind of doing that, you know, where you get a job and you never stop looking until you, and I did that for a few years until I found one I liked. And that was got a sales role. And then I ended up doing project management after that and just kind of art on the side. I do a lot of, you know, I have been, and during that time I did a lot of metal sculpture. So welded junk metal together and made sculptures out of that. And I had that shown in a couple of galleries, but it was nothing like it was some extra money. I could buy more art supplies. That was all it ever was. And then I started with the mask stuff. That actually has the masks themselves have a genesis with my mom showed me a video when I was 14 of some Ren Fair guy making leather masks. And I just thought it was really fascinating. I loved how it looked and I always wanted to try it. We were very poor though, so it wasn't like, I want that stuff. Can we have that stuff? I was like, no, that goes in the pile of maybe some days. And so anyways, I end up at a flea market and I buy all the wrong type of leather. They had like flats of leather in apple boxes. And I was like, and they were relatively cheap. So I was like, well, I'll try it. And then I got it home and realized that's not at all the right stuff. But it was enough for me to realize like, no, this is something I really do want to pursue. You know, because the thing about a lot of art stuff is when you get into it, the startup cost is significant. And if you don't actually like it, that startup cost is gone. So leather is you can start leather pretty cheaply. All in all, I guess now I realize, but it was, you know, little cost prohibitive originally. Anyways, the very first one I made with the right stuff, I messed up badly, but it even sold on Etsy. And like everything I've made sold on Etsy at the beginning. And then, so it just kind of did well there. And then James Cooper, wrestler, found me on there, asked me to do a mask for him, a custom commission, and he paid me all of it up front to make this commission. It was the first mask commission I did, and it just felt really like, wow, this dude's just trusting me with the money up front. Like, really, I want to really make this cool for this guy. And I did, for my skill level at the time, I'm still pretty proud of. And anyways, even now, I think I like the mask that came out for him. But he told everybody, and so it kind of just caught like wildfire right off the bat. And so that's how it developed. And then so I was able to make a choice, the corporate day job or that. And there were some other personal things going on at the time that made that choice more possible for me. So I took the 50% pay cut and sold the house and moved out of the state to a place where I knew nobody, and was just like, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to try it. And so far, so good.
That's incredible. That's inspirational. I love that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, life's all about taking risks, though, at the end of the day, isn't it? Realistically,
that's true.
It's so easy to get stuck in that mundane 9 to 5, doing the same thing every single day, and then you're going, "Oh, I really hate this job. Oh, I won't," but you do nothing about it.
Right. Well, I've come to realize I'm more afraid of being an old man thinking of all the things I could have done than because I think I regret things, mistakes made, but I think I would dramatically more regret not trying. Like, I'd rather fall, as painful as that is, than to wonder if I could have flown and be too old to do anything about it.
That should go on your website. Anyway, you mentioned before the wrong types of leather. What's classed as the wrong type?
Well, so there's a bunch of different kinds of leather, but just to simplify for the sake of that question, there's like leathers that you would use for jackets and boots and that kind of thing. So like chrome tanned, basically, we'll call that. And then there's vegetable tanned, which is that leather that comes in rolls. It's skin color. That's the stuff that you can carve, you can shape, you can do all the fun stuff with. The chrome tan, you can't do any of that stuff with. You can sew it into shapes, but that's it. You don't dye it, you don't carve it, you don't do any of the other stuff. So I bought flats of chrome tan and deer skin, and so I couldn't do any of the stuff with it, and I was trying, and I was like, this isn't working at all. But so that was the wrong side, and then I was able to get my hands on some vegetable tan. So
are you completely self-taught then?
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Well, because I think about a lot of the mask stuff as like, as far as leather working, yes, for sure. I taught myself. I found stuff most of what I've learned has been little brief clips of something on a video that's like, oh, I should incorporate that. Oh, that's a cool little trick. So stuff like that. But I also think back to like drawing. Learning how to draw was pretty critical for this, and learning how to sculpt was pretty critical for this, because you need to a large extent be able to visualize 3-dimension from 2-dimension to 3-dimension, which is kind of the hardest part of it, I guess, is like, how do I make that thing look like the sketch?
Yeah.
So I think of that, like learning the sculpting and the other skills, and even painting. Like you have to learn how to control a paintbrush to paint this stuff, or how to airbrush. That's a completely different skill. Like, these are all individually separate skills. So I think like a lot of those I started learning from I learned a bunch from 7th grade art school, so from a teacher. So it's like yes and no. But as far as like how to carve leather, how to do specifically leather stuff, that's 100% self-taught.
That's crazy. That really is crazy. Like, with how much you've done on the large platforms your work has been seen, to know that you just sat there and went, I'll work it out. And you've done it. And fuck me, it's worked. Like, that is absolutely amazing. That is so cool.
Well, and I'm baffled every day why me, like for me, it's just like anything else I've ever made. It's just like, I don't know why particularly people like what I do, or some of what I do, or whatever. One particular mask is very popular or why the wrestlers want to work with me. It's always in the back of my mind, like, I'm not entirely clear on why, but I'll take it. I'm grateful for it.
Dude, Andrade's masks are unreal, right?
So
So the fact that Andrade, the black one he wore for AEW, that was you, wasn't it?
yes.
Yeah, and they
Yeah,
had
I
a
made
whole
him extra like 10.
they had a whole storyline about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they had a whole storyline. Like, they had it hanging for there was a whole match involved.
Right.
Your mask, well, like
That was
that's
pretty
insane.
cool. Yeah. Well, and same with like the MJF mask, the devil mask. That was like the main
of course,
storyline
yes.
for their year. And I'm just like, that's pretty cool. That's
Dude, that's like one of my favorite storylines of last year. So, you know, I remember being with my ex-girlfriend. She wasn't even a wrestling fan, but she was invested in that storyline. And when the reveal happened that it was Adam Cole, she went, "I'm not watching this anymore. I can't. I'm not doing this." Like, because she was so upset.
That's hilarious. That's great. That's all. And again, it's just like, I'm just here for the ride. I don't know why it keeps happening, but I'm just my take is I'll just keep putting in as much as I'm capable, and if people stop being interested, well, then I'll go back to find a day job. But for now, I'm here. I'm enjoying it. I'm grateful for it. People like it for whatever reason, so I'm gonna.
The fact that we were meant to talk to you back in March, and you were like, "I'm really sorry, I'm mentally busy with WrestleMania 40." Again, kind of says a whole lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, that was. I had a few projects. Unfortunately, none but one got booked for the event, but still, the fact of getting to work with those people, and they haven't debuted still the work yet, so I'm really excited to see that stuff come out. But but still, nonetheless, yes, you're right. But like I'm always like, I don't know why, but okay, thank you. And it's a lot of stress too, because I also don't particularly know why, so I'm just like, well, just put your best effort into it, and hopefully that's what they're looking for. Because everybody, like, has their own aesthetic and style that they want to.
So we're talking about like the masks you've done in wrestling. Were you even a wrestling fan before you got involved in doing this? Or
so no, and I do have a valid reason why. When I was in 6th grade, I watched wrestling with this kid, one of my only friends back in that time, and we ended up getting into a fist fight out front of this like high school get together place, and like a serious fist fight. I mean, like he was bleeding all over the place, and then he spat in my face and said, "Eat my blood, bitch!" Like it was a pro wrestling moment. I know. And then I just in that moment was like, "You love pro wrestling, and now I hate you. So everything you like, I don't like it anymore." So I didn't watch that or anything that kid liked at all. Like that was like, no, none of that. I wasn't here like that.
Damn.
But
what the hell happened? What actually caused that?
Oh, who knows? Being kids, being dumb, just who knows? I got in a lot of fights when I was a kid, so that was just one for the tick box. But
But eat my blood. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, well, and it was just such like a surreal kind of experience that I was just like, I don't know. You're off the friend book, that's for sure, buddy.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch wrestling or follow it at all, even for first couple of years of doing this. So just more like even now I don't have any time, to be honest. Like I also like to watch racing and UFC, but I don't ever. I don't watch anything at all, actually. But
that's fair. So, I did want to talk about some of the other custom stuff too, but as we're talking about the wrestling side of it, I might as well talk about that first. I saw you say somewhere that Drew Gulak was a really big early supporter of yours. Is that right? How did that come about?
I'm not sure how he originally heard of me. The first blue check mark whoever contacted me was Sami Callihan. And then I assume maybe because he promoted me on Instagram early. So it was like James Cooper, and then I got a bunch of indie wrestlers, and then Sami Callihan, in his indie circuit, but he promoted me several times in his like crew that he was with. I made masks for all of them. And then I assume that might be, I actually never asked where Drew heard of me, but one day he just gave me a call and, we talked for a significant amount of time. He bought a mask from me, not for his wrestling, but for somebody else at a school. And he actually bought 2 different masks early on. And then like, we just always kept in touch. And then he sent, a lot of people my way. He sent Alexa Bliss my way. All of my early WWE guys are thanks to Drew. Even Mustafa Ali has been huge supporter and vice versa. And I've done a lot of work for him, but Drew also told him about me. So it's like Drew really helped take this from like, a low level thing to like, wow, some real notable people are on the roster now. So and then over the years too, he's also got on phone calls with me to just like offer different advice, especially because he's been in the inner circle of it, and then I'm not a fan coming into it. Like I have no idea what the world is like here, but so he was helping offer a lot of feedback to me.
So
when the eagle on his jacket was stunning.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I just watched the whole process on Instagram earlier. Stunning.
I really appreciate that. That was actually completely his idea. I made the art for it.
So I didn't realize you did like actual jackets and like ringwear as well as masks as well.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I was adamantly opposed to doing that as well. I just wanted to do masks. I was like, I don't make clothing, period, ever. I was very, very like solid on that. I wasn't going to do it. And then Mustafa Ali, actually, he asked me originally, he was like, you should make me a jacket. And I was like, no, I don't do that. Do you have somebody in mind? Like he was really trying to get me to do it. And I was like, no, I won't. And then he was like, well, do you have somebody at least? And I was kind of doing the local fashion circuit in Denver at the time. So I knew some other designers and I sent one his way. And that apparently went real bad. And he liked it so little that he had got a refund from this person. And I was like, well, I vouched for this person. And that was so bad that I'm like, well, now I have to at least like try to compensate you by making the jacket. Because he was like, no, you need to make the jacket. You can do it. You can do it. Like he didn't say it in a rude way or anything like that. He was more like, I know you could do it. Just do it. Make the jacket. And so I did. And it took a month and it took 3 sewing machines because I burned them out. The like household version sewing machine trying to sew a leather jacket. And then it was all lit and stuff. So I had to like figure out that because that was programmable lights, it had animation and stuff. So I had to like go to a different like local makers area to like learn how to do the programming for that. It was insane, but he paid me to learn. So that was pretty cool.
Is that the one with the light up mask and it had the chest and the hand piece and that? So when early.
So that mask, I didn't make his first masks at all. He got that from some guy in China. I only made his last light up mask, the one with like the metal look. But the jacket, yeah, that was me. Not the first one with like the blue EL light lines. That was I did put the lights in that jacket, but the jacket itself was made by somebody else. But the second one with like the stripes that you change colors with the little circle deal on it, that I made. And like I can't tell you how hard that little heartbeat animation was to figure out how to do. That was a nightmare.
I can imagine like just actually putting the LED lights in the jacket all together must be an absolute mental process.
It was too. Yeah, and like if there was I think at one point there was a short on one of the strips and it was like, oh man. No. It's like in this jacket. It's like I don't know anything about any of this. I got to take this whole thing apart.
Fucking hell.
Worth it.
Absolutely.
So how much input do these people have into the designs? Are they giving you like details and sketches, or they're like, make me a mask and make it red, go? Like, or does it depend on the person?
It does depend on the person. I personally prefer the less the better. Like, give me an idea and a couple of inspirations. Like, I want a full head cover mask that's kind of like a skull. I like the aesthetic of whatever Iron Man, Shredder, and whatever, just characters. And then I come up with a thing based off of that. I usually do a concept sketch and then the final piece, all my design. That's how most of them go, but there are like maybe 20% of people who come with their own sketch. They know exactly what they want and they want me to make that exact thing. So that does come too. And then, there's a portion of people who know kind of exactly what they want, but I have creative freedom in the final, which is also good. Because it's like when I'm designing it, there's little things that's like I could improve upon this little thing and that, but you don't know it until doing the build itself, just little details along the way. And if I'm restricted to this exact sketch, it's like it doesn't perform well. I should put it that way.
No,
But yeah, so it's a combination. But yeah, so I can do all the design myself, and the sketching and everything to answer that question. I can. It just varies depending on what because some people want to work with a graphics designer of their choice and all that. So
absolutely makes sense. But I mean, what is your actual process though? Obviously, because you don't make masks, you make masks for yourself as well, that you obviously sell for like Halloween and that sort of thing. Like, what is your actual process from what an idea is to the final product?
Well, the first step is wait a long time. Well, I've been very lucky to have a very long waiting list since James Cooper found me. Like it went from like James Cooper to 15 to at one point I had more than 100 people on a waiting list. And that was so stressful. It was too much. But like even right now, I have more than 45 people on the waiting list. So it's like, even if I just cranked this out and only took 2 days a mask, then it's like, it's 90 days. So
that's insane.
Yeah, so that's kind of step one, is just like get through the list so I can get started on your project. At some point in that period, if I get a moment, then I'll do a sketch. Otherwise, I end up doing the sketch right before the project starts. They either approve it or like this needs to change. And sometimes the changes can be just directly reflected into the actual design work. Sometimes I need to redo the sketch. That depends on the person and how serious the changes are. And then I go to the design side, which there's a bunch of different ways I do that. I've got, I've made now several, well, I would say 3,000 masks probably is a accurate. Yeah, so I've got like some, I've got enough figured out that I can do a few different ways to get the design rolling. But and I do it by hand to start, like everything's hand drawn. And then I take that and I put it into the computer and I digitally draw it out. Not always, but usually I end up doing that now. I have a laser machine that helps cut a few steps off because it cuts the leather out and it will help engrave. Otherwise, it'll score the lines that I need to carve in. Otherwise, you have to like take the paper pattern and you have to like with a stylus, you have to basically emboss it for what you're gonna end up carving in, and that takes a long time, so that it takes away that entire step out of it, as well as the cutting of the pieces. So that's why I end up doing it digitally, and then from there I take those pieces and I do the carving. And then there's like an edger tool because it comes out, the edges are pretty sharp and not comfortable on your face. So I'll take this tool to kind of round the edges after that. And then there's stitching and sewing, depending on how it is. So I'll assemble it and then I shape it into the form, paint it, and then final finishing stuff if there's, accessories and rivets and things like that that need to be put on it. And then straps, tags, and boxed and out.
Damn, man, that's insane. I mean, this might be a really dumb question. How do you know it's going to fit their head?
Oh, I get measurements, but fortunately, most like 95% of everybody's face will fit into the way I make them, because I kind of leave
Okay.
extra room for the nose. If the nose is there and you have cheekbone shape, it comfortably fits most people. Unless they have like a real beak, then we have to worry about, like, we have to make extra space in there for that. And then the main concern, is like the size of the head. But since most, like, that's easy to accomplish for if there's straps. I just make longer straps. If it's a full head design, then I just have to make modifications in the back part of that. The face part usually is always going to fit. It's just I have to adjust the size so it's larger.
So I know obviously it's going to depend per project, but rough guesstimate, how long does it take to go from designing to pack it and get it sent off?
Yeah, so that is an impossible question to answer. And it's also impossible to know, because like some projects just go smoothly. And then it's like, I'm like, wow, that went so fast, like start to finish. And I love the thing that came out of it. And some of them are just like problem after problem after problem. And it's just very difficult. I also, oftentimes, especially with jackets, end up like stuck on the design part, and I just don't move quickly until like I get that flame of inspiration or whatever. So if that happens, then longer. So I can't even say like but most masks are done, and I do it in batches too. I never do just one mask. I'll do like 4 people's masks at the same time. And that's partially for efficiency's sake, so that if you're doing the same thing for 4 people, it's much quicker than you do the one thing, or the one mask you do all the processes, and then the next one you do all the processes. It's a little more efficient to have multiples going, and then also it gives me the ability to, when I'm stuck on one design, for example, I'll move to the next design and work through that and go through the queue of everybody's, and then come back to the first one, and usually it's cleared up by then and I'm good to proceed. So that's also makes it difficult to answer that question, because like a batch can be done in 2 weeks, and a batch can be anywhere from 4 to 7 masks usually, but it can also take longer, especially if there's like a really complicated mask, or like one that was just difficult to design for whatever reason. And some of them just don't look good to me, and I won't move forward to the next step if that previous step doesn't look good enough to me. I mean, it's all, beauty is in the eye of the beholder or whatever, but it's gotta look good to me.
So, have you ever had like a moment where you just woke up and gone, that design, and then run downstairs and start drawing stuff?
No. To be honest, it's usually hits me in like I like to bike ride or mountain bike or something like that. Nice. And those ideas will pop into my mind at that moment, or like in a shower. Usually they'll hit me when I have no ability to get to that idea.
Record voice notes on your phone.
Yeah, right. That's a good idea, actually.
So in regards to like making them, because you're doing it for, obviously we've mentioned wrestlers, but theatre, film, cosplay, all this sort of stuff, is the making process different? Because obviously a theatre performer isn't going to get dropped on their head 20 times in a week to like for the wear and tear of the mask. Is there extra steps you put into that sort of thing, or is it same for all?
So for in-ring mask styles, I do a couple of things differently. It's usually like a thicker gauge of leather. It's there's some padding on the inside oftentimes if there's any kind of pressure points on the inside of the mask. But almost all masks are made just the same way. That it's remarkably durable material, and also flexible material. So like even if it gets sat on or something, it should just be put back into place. I've also had a few different people now even submerge the masks, which you should not do. But it shouldn't work out, but it seems to have worked out fine for them, and they didn't have a problem with the masks. So it's like not a big difference is required. It is, however, for like if I'm working with women or I'm working with like a dancer or something like that, then it actually has to be ultra light and thin. So it's the opposite approach for that. But most people's masks are made using the same basic process and materials.
Is there certain materials you really enjoy using? Like, do you have a certain one that's like your go-to?
Well, I mean, yeah, leather. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No. No, so it's like there are different types of leather, but I actually, when I go to the leather store, it's not like they have their different types, and those are bracketed by cost. But I've bought some of the most high-end leather that you can get, and the cheapest leather you can get. The cheapest is cheap, like, don't want to get that. But the most expensive and even the middle range all have good and bad hides in them. So I look for a specific thing. I go to the leather store and I flip over every single piece of leather and I pull out the ones I want. And I usually buy 15 or 20 hides at a time. That way, there's got to be a little bit of a shine to it. It's got to be smooth to the touch. These kind of things that I look for. So it's like there is the perfect hide to use, but I can't say I like the European bend or something like that. Just whatever they have that is precisely the feel that I like.
Okay.
You're talking there about using different types of leather and stuff like that. I was going to mention it earlier when we were talking about Andrade, but did I see you made a mask out of one of Charlotte's bags for him?
Oh,
something like
yes,
that.
I did. That was a stressful project. Only had one go at that.
I can imagine.
Just chopping up a Louis Vuitton bag, for art. That was quite crazy. But yeah. And that's actually backed with the same leather as all his other masks, so it could maintain shape.
I do remember reading that. I was just like, how the hell did he convince his wife to give up a Louis Vuitton bag? Like, what?
I know. They haven't probably bought her a new one.
Probably.
But yeah, no, that was working with Andrade has been great because he is open to that was his idea completely, but he's open to the sequin idea or whatever was very expensive materials cost. And I'm like, but I think it would be really cool. And it ended up being really cool. So, but he's always been open to take it on the cost of a maybe. And it's been fun to work with him because I can be I've always wanted to kind of try that. I think we could make something cool with that. So
I think my favorite one out of all of yours I've seen is an Andrade mask, and that was his Royal Rumble return with the gold crown.
Oh,
I remember he came out, I was like, holy fuck, that is beautiful.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was another one I wanted to try, real gold leafing, and that was 24 karat gold leaf on those. So it was I was like, I think it would look better if we use real gold leaf, and he's like, okay, go for it.
Fair play.
So
that's absolutely amazing. I did want to say as well, because obviously over the past few years, Comic-Cons, cosplays, all this stuff has become really big in culture. Has that affected the work you get as well? Because people want this high quality cosplayers, and I know you do work with cosplayers. So have you had an influx of that sort of thing over the past few years?
I wouldn't say an influx. No, it's hit or miss on the cosplayers. A lot of cosplayers, make their own stuff as part of it. And then the other part of it is they are the type that want very, very specific things. So I'll have to think up front, make very sure that I can make that exact thing. And so I turn down a fair bit of them if I'm not convinced that I could do, because there's simple little things with leather, you can't get a high gloss plastic or metal finish. You just can't. It's porous material. So stuff like that, if I know that they really need that you could cover it in resin, but then why use leather at all? So you know what I mean? So it's little things like that. But no, I get several a year, but I wouldn't say, it's not a large percentage of the customers I get.
That's fair. I just thought because you're seeing a lot of this nowadays. It's so popular. So there you go. I'm just wondering.
Well, and a lot of them I think prefer to use EVA foam and stuff like that because it's really lightweight. So they're they're not needing anything durable. They're walking around the event for an entire 10-hour day or whatever it ends up being. They need it light and usable and all that. Leather's a bit serious.
Yeah, wearing a leather mask for 10 hours. I can't imagine the face sweat you'd have after the end of that.
Well, actually, you'd be surprised on the face sweat. I would say leather is the best mask you could have for breathability, because one, it's porous, so it will help wick the moisture off of your face. Because like all the other mask types are like some form of rubber or plastic or such as that. Like you can get a lucha mask, which is more breathable, obviously, than leather, but everything else is more like hard to think of the word, but like it's a solid material up against you. There's no breathability at all.
Yeah.
So that sweat is insane. But as far as like, I'm thinking more in terms of like the armor is heavier like than a foam thing. So just like over time it'd be, but the masks also are even, you know, oftentimes as little as like 10 ounces for a full face cover, or you know, like a eye mask is like 4 ounces. So also really lightweight, but the armor gets to start to get pretty heavy. Jackets too.
Have you ever had projects you've been given where you've just got like or ideas given to you where you're like, this is just not going to work?
Oh yeah. I turn down maybe 10% of everybody that comes.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. I also won't accept a project if I personally don't feel like some kind of I could do that. I want to do that. Like I won't.
Okay.
Even if it sends me back to a day job, I can't do something that's like, especially now I've really made because I did that for a little while and I just wasn't proud of the work, and then that affects the confidence for the next work.
Yeah.
And then you just you know, feeling like I have to feel like everything I'm doing I am proud of. I don't really care if anybody else likes it. It's very important to me though that what I did is like, that's cool. I would have that. I would keep that thing myself. And then so if any project is kind of like I don't want to say this in a way that would maybe offend somebody else, but at the same time I do also say this to my friends a lot, that you know, you can only polish a turd so much. Like so.
It's true though, but it's true, but it is, you know, and I've now completely forgotten what I was going to say. So brilliant. So my brain is completely shut off there. I had something to follow there, Will, and now it's gone.
Throw them off for polishing turds.
Yeah.
I suppose I wasn't expecting that to come. I think that's I know what I was going to say. Would you not have a team, not a team, but would you not have people to help you with this sort of stuff as well? Because you were saying that your backlog is crazy.
Yeah.
I know it kind of takes away from like the whole you doing it, but it's your work, it's your stuff, you know, you've got to like it, that sort of thing. Would you ever get anyone to help you at all, or no?
Yeah, and I have off and on. I actually maybe 2 months ago hired a friend of mine as well. And I'm not worried about it like not being my work, because I don't give any of the design or paint type stuff to anybody else. But there are things like hand stitching the pieces together that don't have to be done by me, or even just like put it in a box and send it, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
it saves time if I don't have to do it. The problem earlier on has been that I think a lot of people viewed the job as maybe they viewed like taking the art class elective in high school, like this is be an easy paycheck. And the reality is the work that I have somebody do is very factory work. Like it's tedious, it's effort. You got to earn your check, kind of a thing. So
makes sense.
But the friend of mine who's working now is helping a lot and seems to enjoy it. So
good. And also going back to when you said that, you know, you want to, if you're sending something out, you've got to like it too. Well, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Because why would you want to send something out? You're like, oh, I'll be fine. And then, you know, someone else goes, why? Do you know what I mean? You don't want that bad press, I suppose.
Yeah,
you want to give everything, you want to give it 150 million% every time. Do you know what I mean? You don't just like half-ass go, oh, I'll be okay. And they're like, you know what I mean? So
well, yeah, and I'd like to think you never know who's watching. Like there could be somebody who's like just seeing how you progress over time, and then you put out that one piece of trash, and they're just like, no, we'll not work with that guy.
Yeah,
because you know, or even beyond that though, from just an artist perspective, like any piece I've done, art period that I don't like I don't want, like, I used to give away all my artwork when I was learning. Like, I don't like any of it. Just I'd give it away or throw it away, all of it. But you know, with this stuff, so it's like kind of like that mentality. Like, it's got to be, at least to me. And again, I don't know why other people like it, and it's not. It's important to me that I like it and the person who bought it likes it. Those two things are very important to me. Everybody else, if they don't like it, that's fine. But I have to like it, and but like you're saying, there are downline rewards to that. If I had a huge perfectionist problem for a long time, having to, like, it's got to be perfect, but that doesn't exist. I've finally come to, like, more of an idea of, like, instead of perfect, it just has to be like, I have to be convinced that I put in the best work that I could, and I put in the time, and I can't improve upon that. It's not perfect. It never will be perfect, but it's my perfect, and that's good enough. And I feel good about it. So, but yeah. And so my main thing is like, yes, the working with future people or other people seeing it is something to worry about. But for me, it's actually, if I send something I don't like, that has such a hit on my confidence. And since this is a nothing but creative, like, I have to come up with everybody's project from scratch. There are no templates, there are no patterns that I use for anybody's stuff, jackets or otherwise. It's all from the ground up. And so with that, I have to be, like, high level of confidence that every project I can do this. And if I send garbage out, then I'm like, you know, or even if I send something that I really like and the customer hates it or doesn't seem to like it much or something like that, that also is kind of a hit. Like, oh no, maybe it's not good anymore. Maybe I'm losing it.
But I mean, I suppose that not being a wrestling fan, obviously, because that's where the majority of your work is at the moment, maybe helps you. Because obviously, if you're getting these calls, Andrade, for example, you're like, holy shit, it's Andrade. Oh my God, like, I want to make sure this is absolutely spectacular. I want to make sure that I've done this. Okay. And then you start overthinking it. And like, okay, I need to make sure.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas because obviously you're not a master, so you're just like, to you, it's just like, yeah, cool, I can do that for you. It's no problem at all. Here you go.
Right. That has been helpful, just to be like, yeah. Well, and you know, I put in all the effort for everybody. So it's like, whether it's Andrade or whether it's a guy needing something for Halloween, it doesn't actually make any difference to me in terms of how much effort I'll put into it. It's like, whatever your idea is and your budget is, I'll put the best work in to that, like that we can do. So that has been helpful. Like, if I had to fanboy, if I had to make something for, like, Tim Burton, we'll just go back to that. Yeah, I would freeze. That's never start.
Everyone went, Will, what happened to Will?
Yeah.
Has anyone seen it? It's been a year. What's that?
I start working a grill in the back of a kitchen somewhere.
I did love your Black Raven and your Bluebird masks. It looked like the Court of Owls from Batman. Absolutely beautiful.
I appreciate that. That Raven mask actually is the most sold item I've ever done, and the first one I made was one of my first 10 designs I ever did.
No way.
I made it for my grandmother yeah. The first one was red, and then a customer was like, could you make this in black? And then as soon as it was black, like, people, well, it's not technically black, it's like I made this gray, he wanted it black, but I like made this grayscale thing, and then now I've made like 120 of those things.
Wow. That is awesome. That is amazing.
So I appreciate it.
So, well, I am conscious of time, but I did want to ask, looking back at your career, like, you've worked with some incredible people from all about, are there any particular things you've done that you look back on and go, yeah, I'm proud of that one. That was a good day at the office. Is there any particular pieces that jump to your head?
There are a few. Oftentimes my favorites, well, as far as like people, definitely Alexa Bliss is probably one of the top. She was just like always, she was very cool to work with. She's been and helpful promoter, but like just that went to WrestleMania and stuff. It was like easy to work with. So it was like a very easy, fun win, and also collaborative. She did all the sequence on that at the end. So that comes to mind. As far as like just projects, it's often for like like, for example, I have always liked video games. So like Assassin's Creed is a very great game, although it never ends. The story never ends, which is annoying. But however, I made a Black Flag. I forget his name. I forget the character's name, but I made the Assassin's Creed Black Flag main outfit, fully, like, full replica. The guy even bought like a doll with like fabric clothes that I could take and like see exactly how it was made, so I could make it exact replica, and it was really fun. And I'm really happy with how it came out. So that's like stuff like that. Like, it's like just one-off things that I'm like, I really like that. But also I guess I don't get hung up on many things that I'm doing, because it's like on to the next thing, on to the next thing. Like, even you just asking that's all I can literally think of in the moment. I'd have to like scroll through my Instagram and be like, oh yeah, that one too. And oh yeah, that one. Because right now my brain is on like, the next 5 projects. Like, oh, it's cool. So
amazing. Mr. Stevens, do you have any more questions for our wonderful guest?
I do. Before we let you go, Will, when you first started out on this journey, when you first knew what drawing was and that sort of thing, building sculptures out of metal, partially looking at architecture, now building masks and making things and being creative with your life, did you ever think this is where you'd be today?
Oh, absolutely not. At no point. It's not realistic to be a creative person, and even for the duration of time that I've been able to do this, it seems it's very much a gift. Like, this is not a common thing to be able to do without some other additional source of income. Like, usually people need to be like, this is the hobby kind of a thing. So to be able to do it still seems unrealistic. So no, I've never thought at all I'd be able to. Well, and the funny thing is, I definitely never thought I'd be like making costumes. That seems so, like, I actually quit a job when I was 18 because I was working the wood shop in a factory, and they were closing down the wood shop for a period of time and sending everybody to the sewing machines to like upholster. And I just refused to work on a sewing machine.
How ironic.
No, I just did not want to do it. It didn't seem like something I would enjoy. I was like, no, so I quit the job. So yeah, no, definitely didn't think I'd be making jacket, and also really enjoying doing it too. So no, at no point did I think that was going to happen. And anyways, like, when you think of like, being an artist, you think of like some gallery artist selling a single piece for tens of thousands of dollars or something like that. And it's like, yeah, that's the 1% of people with some really, they know some people.
Incredible. Well, before we let you go, plugs, social medias, websites, where can people find you out in the world?
At Rockwell Masks on all channels. Just recently started a TikTok too. So, and Instagram, I've started doing some videos. So would love to have people check that out. Change the way I've kind of been showcasing the work. So a TikTok follow would be great. Also YouTube subscription would be great. I'm trying that out, but other than that, rockwellmasks.com if you want to see the work. That's pretty straightforward. I don't have much else going.
Phenomenal. Well, thank you so much. This has been absolutely amazing. Really enjoyed talking to you today.
Thank you both as well. It's been great.
We'll definitely do a part 2. We'll definitely do something when you have more time, maybe later in the year or something. William, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it massively.
Thank you as well.
I wish you all the best of the projects, and we'll catch up soon.
All right, sounds great. Gentlemen, have a great.
Have fun.
You too, pal. Take it easy.
Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye.